Hi guys, welcome to another Kerbal Space Program tutorial. This time we're covering how to rendezvous and dock with a space station. In this case I've set up a station in low orbit of Kerbin, and so we're going to start off as usual by launching up into a nice stable orbit. As always, turning east when we get high into the sky, and in my case I'm going to be looking to drop those solid rocket boosters that I've got strapped to the sides when they finally run out of fuel, which I think will be fairly soon. Yep, they're pretty low, and off they go because now they're out. And fuel is the name of the game today, in a sense. All we're going to be doing is heading into orbit and meeting up with a simple refueling station, as I say, that I've set up. It's currently orbiting the planet, and then we'll undock from it and get Valentina, who's our pilot today, home safe and sound with any luck. So we'll start, as I say, by getting into a simple orbit. We've launched up, and this orange fuel tank is about to run out, so we're going to jettison it as we would normally with any spare fuel tank. We don't need any more. There it goes. And we're going to be now relying on our very, very small fuel tank that we have kind of strapped onto the capsule here. We do have very, very limited fuel, and that's why we're going to need to refuel once we've got into orbit and visited the station. So here we are in, again, low Kerbin orbit, and on the left there, I'm just about to highlight it and select it as our target is the station we want to visit, so we'll set as target. Now, these green icons here, currently showing 0.2, give those a click and add a manoeuvre, and what we want to do is set a manoeuvre to make effectively align ourselves. We want to use anti-normal and normal to align ourselves properly to our target, so we need to make sure those green intersect icons are 0. Very, very important because it can throw everything off. Simple to do though, just use normal and anti-normal. The other thing I'm doing as well, as you can see, is I'm burning prograde when I get to those nodes, just to bring my apoapsis and periapsis, I'll do it on the other side as well. We're going to bring those in line with our target. We want to be obviously as close as we can possibly be to our target in terms of its periapsis and apoapsis. We want those to roughly match. For now, we'll just make them match, and we'll worry about all the other stuff in a short while. But for now, crucially, we just want to be aligned, which we do the normal and anti-normal to make it 0.0 on those green icons, and we want to make those lines match up roughly, as close as we can get it in terms of apoapsis and periapsis. So at the moment, I'm just going to set, you can barely see anything because it's so dark, but I'm just going to do a short burn here to get ourselves our initial, the one side of the orbit in line with our target, which doesn't take more than a few seconds. Here we go. There we are. It's a nice cheap burn because we're only increasing our orbit height slightly, and then on the other side, exactly the same thing. We're going to just burn up to the line. Yep, there we are. Now, the problem that we have once we've done all this, and this should be fairly normal to all of you. If you've got into orbit and you've done orbital stuff before, you'll know all about this. So this is kind of covering old ground. Apart from the alignment thing, you might not be too familiar with that. You might have done that with the MUN or the Minmus, but in this case, it really is vital. If you're going to try and rendezvous and dock with the station, you need to make sure that alignment's correct. Skipping forward, then we're just going to go into a short burn to circularize our orbit and match it with our target. Now, you'll notice that our station, which is just to the left there, is kind of behind us at the moment. Now, this is one aspect that's very alien to everyone in space. You can pardon the slight pun. The problem is that to have that catch up to us, we need to slow down. Well, the problem is if you slow down, as you know, that's going retrograde in space. And it's not quite the same thing, because if you go retrograde, then you're going to bring your orbit in. It's not really going to work. Let me explain with this scenario. Let's look at these inner planets here. Which of these is going fastest around the sun? Which of these has the shortest year? Well, it's clearly Moho. And Duna has a longer year than Kerbin. Well, why is that? Well, it's simply because Moho is on an inner track to Eve, Kerbin, and Duna. If you look at their relative velocities as I'm hovering over them, you can see that Duna's is considerably faster, slower than Eve's and Moho's. Moho's are the fastest. If we go out to Elu and Joule and Dres, they are far, far slower than the inner planets from them. Let's kind of explain this. Let's kind of explain this in a slightly simpler way. This is the most unfair athletics track in the world. 400 meters. Those two blobs you can see by the start-finish line there, the dark blue and the kind of light bluey green, those are two competitors. Now, if you were the guy in the dark blue on the inner track there, you'd be pretty ecstatic with this. If you were going to start and run around that track, basically the other guy has to be substantially faster than you to win, because he or she is now on the outer track and you're going to be going faster. Naturally, you have the advantage. If you're running at the same speed, you will win. It's not fair at all, because you should finish at the same time, but you won't, because you have the inner track and the person in the sort of bluey green has the outer. Well, this is of course how a 400 metre track should look. You have a staggered start. All the runners start in a specific lane, slightly further forward. So if you're in the blue again, you're on the inner track, but you're further back than the guy in the sort of blue-green who's on the outer track, and that makes it fair. If you ran at the same speed, you would end up exactly level when you cross the line. You'd be neck and neck when you cross the line. And that's exactly what we have to do here. Think of it like that. In this instance, in order for the station to catch up with us, we must be inside of it we must be outside of it rather in terms of our orbit. It must be inside of us. It must have the inner track on us to go faster than we are. So if you look at, if you could just catch that as I was doing my apoapsis and periapsis checks against its checks, which are in the sort of greeny colour there, you can see that it is now inside of us. In other words, its orbit is lower, and that means as we're tracking it with the mouse, you can see it just slowly but surely catching up with us. That distance at the bottom there, that distance number, is slowly but surely catching up with us. It's because it has the inner track. It's where the term comes from. Someone who has the inner track, or something that has the inner track, is faster or better advantaged. You can see it very clearly here with the KISS. That's the Kerbal International Space Station I've set up. That is moving, you can almost see it visually, is moving faster than us because it's much lower in the orbit of Kerbin. So, coming back several days later, in fact, it's taken for us to sort of slow down, or rather the station to catch up with us, whichever way you want to look at it. What I'm doing here is we are now very, very close to the station. You can see it's just behind us. We're moving sort of left to right here. It's just behind us. What I'm doing is I'm adjusting it so those position markers that you can see there, that orange thing sort of bobbing around underneath the manoeuvre node, that's important. When I'm hovering over that, hopefully you can just about make out there's a separation parameter. And separation is literally the next time that we hit that mark where we're going to be. So what I've done is I've adjusted the prograde and retrograde in such a way that when we reach that node the next time, we will be 0.4 kilometers away from our target. That's very, very close. You want to be under 5 kilometers before you try the next section. Under 5. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the standard thing. I'm going to burn when I reach my maneuver node. And again, accuracy needed here, a lot of accuracy. Just make sure that you hit that target and you should be good. So again, if we hover over that intersect node, you can see we're now going to be about 0.6, I think it says, separation. In other words, we're going to be 0.6 kilometers from our target. So let's warp all the way around, and let's kind of watch it as this happens. You can see it's now catching up with us at a rate of knots. Look, we are now, if we zoom in again, hopefully I do, yep, there we go. You can see we're on the outer track, it's on the inner track. Look at how visually obvious that is. It is catching up with us because of the fact that we're on the outer and it's on the inner track. It's exactly the same as that athletics track scenario I showed you, and that's how I like to think of it. I don't know whether that's a good analogy, but it kind of shows you that having the inner track means that it's going to be going effectively quicker. So, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to now try to rendezvous. We've kind of rendezvoused with it, sort of. We're certainly really, really close to it. What we want to do is try to move towards it. At the moment, we're moving slightly away. Now is the time for RCS mode. You must have RCS tanks and engines on for this. Essentially, all I'm going to be doing is using my J, K, L and I keys. They act like, in effect, translation. They will move if you look at the nav board at the bottom there, my prograde is moving towards the target icon. I moved it in, if you want to just skip back if you didn't quite catch that. The prograde originally was way above it. In other words, I think originally I was moving away from it. What I've done is I've just used H to push myself forward, and then I've used J, K, L and I keys to get that prograde to match up with the target icon, which is that kind of sort of pinky purpley icon on the nav ball. What that means is that our prograde, our direction, if you like, because we got the nav ball set to target, we are now moving towards the station. Now, don't worry, the nav ball will switch to target automatically when you get close to your target. In other words, I think it's within a few hundred kilometers or so, it will suddenly switch to target. What you can see as well, if you look at the top of the nav ball there, is a meters per second readout. That's how many meters a second we're moving relative to our target. And you can see it's now coming into visual range. We are moving towards our target. I've gone a little bit off there. If you look at the nav ball itself, I'm adjusting again. There you go. I've moved it back, so the prograde is now over the target. That means quite literally we are pointing towards the target. And I've opened up my my docking port on the front, my shielded docking port, so we're ready to go. I've done more than a few runs like this where I've forgotten to open that shield and just smashed into it when I've gone to dock. So I always tend to open it early now. It's my real fear is just smashing into the docking port and forgetting to open my shield. So here we are. We're now moving in towards our target. Moving in at roughly a metre or so a second. Really, reducing your speed down at this point is not a big deal. Going slow and steady wins the race, as they say, and slow and steady really is the key to this. No need to move too quickly. No need to go too fast. We're just going to creep towards our station. You can see I'm just setting myself up here, just kind of getting myself aligned a little bit better. You can see that the docking port we're going to be targeting is on the top there. It's facing north, so I will have to realign, but I'm going to let myself get a bit closer. At this point, it'll be very easy for us to maybe increase our speed, but we need to be careful we don't go out of control here and risk damaging the station. You can see that there are those solar panels on the side. They look a little bit weak and flimsy, don't they? If you were to plough into those at any real speed, they would be shattered, and I don't have an engineer on board, which is a bit of an issue. So we're going to move in as slowly as we can. You can see I'm actually using N here, my N key, to back off a little bit, slow us down. You see the meters per second to target dropping way down. We're just going to cruise right the way in. At this point, we've rendezvoused. We've met with our target. We're going to be able to move at whatever speed we need to. And also at this point, I've noticed I'm getting perilously close to that solar panel. So on the bottom left there, I'm going to switch to docking mode, and this allows me to use my WASD keys to kind of roll, but also uses J, K, L and I a little bit more sensibly. It allows me to kind of move around, translate myself rather than necessarily rotate myself, which is really good here. And here I'm using the standard WASD just to roll the craft around so I can align myself now to the docking port, which I'm going to do. Again, at this point, slow and steady really does win the race. Kind of one of those things that you might do. You can see how here I'm starting to drift away from the station a little bit. It's enough to make most people who are doing this for the first time panic. They think, oh god, I'm moving away from the station. Don't panic. At this point, you're moving so slowly, it makes no odds. If you suddenly slam a button, accidentally hit shift and activate your main engines, you could end up smashing into the station or flying off into space. There's no need to panic at this point. I am moving away from the station, but I'm doing so intentionally to align myself up with that port that I can see tantalisingly close. But every manoeuvre you make is A, using fuel, and B, got the potential to increase your velocity in a way you don't expect. You don't have brakes in space, so unlike with a car or whatever, you move forward and you just hit the brakes. That doesn't work in space. If you start moving one direction, you need to equal and opposite, as they say. You need to stop that movement by boosting in the opposite direction. So here we are, we're very, very slowly moving in on that target. See, we are, again, tantalisingly close. Now, there is an element of kind of magnetism, if you like. I've backed off again. There is an element of magnetism in the docking ports in Kerbal Space Program. So you don't have to be perfectly aligned. In simulators like Orbiter and others, and of course in real life, the fact is you have to be perfectly aligned. That there's tiny changes in your direction or your rotation can cause it docking to fail, which is a real disaster. In Kerbal Space Program, it's a bit more forgiving, because all we have to do is get reasonably close. You still have to get reasonably close, but you'll see here as I just come over the top of our docking port here, and again I'm literally just moving tiny amounts, tiny bits of thrust and then countering it, tiny bit of thrust countering it. It really is, as I said before, slow and steady wins the race. If you go too fast here, you're just going to get frustrated and lose it. Tiny amounts. We're 0.2 meters a second towards the target, and I'm just going to use I think I use H here. There we go. Yep, just to boost slightly forward, and now I'm going to continue correcting slightly. Again, just use the camera to your advantage. Move it around, make sure you're coming in at a sensible angle. Again here, I'm just rolling towards the target. And if we look, there we are, we've hit the target. At this point, hit T and R, just kill those off. There we go, we've managed to dock. That's it, we've done it. The reason I hit T and R at the last moment there, certainly T, is because sometimes SAS, the stability assist, can throw you off, and it can cause some problems with docking. It can kind of bug it out. But there we are, we've done it, we've docked. All we need to do now is refuel. So we use Alt and right click on the two fuel tanks that we want to refuel. In this case, one of the tanks we want to refuel from, and the tank I want to refuel to. And I hit the in button to drag in some more fuel to the ship. And I can now undock. We've done what we needed to do. We've docked with the station, we've rendezvoused with it, we've docked with it, we've got some fuel, no problem. So we're going to use N on our keyboard with RCS enabled just to back off a little way. Close that docking port, we don't need it anymore, we've done our business. So now let's get Valentina home. It's exactly the same as you've probably already done all this sort of stuff, but we're going to do it do it anyway, just to kind of finish the video off. So it's going to be a splashdown for my capsule. And again, if we jump forward, I guess, to this here, you can see, this is kind of quite nice. I kept this in the video just because it's kind of quite nice. You can see the moon there in the background, the sun, and that little red blob there above us, just briefly. That was the station we've just come from. So we actually did, it's kind of going to go merrily on its way. But it shows you how easily, literally all I've done there is just backed off from the station. I hadn't boosted or done anything up until that point. It shows you how far you can get. And that's only about a half a rotation, half an orbit. We're already a long old way from the station. And I don't know, just showing this off for the sake of showing a landing. Really, I always like the spectacular visual effects of coming into land. I've got a heat shield on, so any moment now we're going to be starting to burn up. There we go, as we come back into Kerbin. And of course, you can use rendezvousing and docking for all sorts of reasons. You can have scientific stuff on board. You can use it for getting the experience of your crew up. In this case, I've got this 3-man capsule, very, very useful for getting a few men up to Kerbals, I should say, up to the station, and bringing them down. Valentina actually is probably one of the most experienced pilots I think I have at the moment, so she tends to just take command and just drops off 2 and brings back 2. So 2 up to the station, 2 down on some other stations. But of course, it's also useful for refueling, as you saw in my Duna video, and it's very, very useful in those kind of longer missions to be able to refuel in a station. And so we're back home. It's all gone according to plan, which is always a bonus, obviously. Anyway, I hope this video has been useful, guys. Hopefully it's covered any issues you've been having with rendezvousing or docking in KSP, and I'll see you next time.